What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and in today's video, I'm going to give you a breakdown on how to use PropsMadness. We'll go through the abbreviations, what they mean, and how to use the advanced filtering to hopefully find yourself a great bet. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go! So we're jumping into PropsMadness, and the play that we're looking at today is Franz Wagner. He's got really interesting data, and a tool like this really shows you how great Franz is depending on the matchup. So in terms of filters, the key things that you need to know right now, firstly, is minutes. That often gets overlooked. And you want to use minutes to kind of get rid of outliers, games where he may have gotten injured, games where he got a foul trouble, or games that went into overtime, for example. So you want to reduce those things down. So for Franz, I like to set him at about 32 minutes as a minimum, up to 41 minutes. It gives us a good sample size of what I expect to see in this game against Atlanta. The spread is only 1.5 points, right? Now, already by just changing that, we see the hit rate improve. 16 out of 23 games provided Franz plays between 32 and 41 minutes. The next things I want to talk through is this. We've got DPT, opponent rank DPT, and opponent rank DSZ. So what DPT means is dominant play type. And for Franz, it's in the pick and roll. DSZ stands for dominant shooting zone. Franz likes to score in the restricted area, which is right around the basket. Let's talk about that real quick. So in this season shot chart here, you can see where Franz scores his points. 37% of his points are in the restricted area right at the basket. 26% are also in the paint, non-restricted area, and 24% are above the break. If you look at the opponent defense, we can see the Atlanta Hawks, 27 out of 30 teams. So the fourth most points in the restricted area, fourth most points above the break. You can use this versus tab and it kind of blends both shot charts together. So you can see the player and the opposition defense all in the same chart. Next, we have a play type analysis. So we know that pick and roll ball handler is his key play type, 21% of his points. And we know the Atlanta Hawks, 28 out of 30 teams, third most points allowed to the pick and roll ball handler. And we also have transition, which is the second one, 17% of his points. The Hawks, 8th in terms of points allowed in transition. So using what we know in this shot chart and the play type analysis, we can then get saucy with it when it comes to the graph. So we already have the filter set for minutes, 32 to 41 minutes. When it comes to DPT, in terms of dominant play type, you could, if you wanted to, just filter to the very worst teams in the league to see how does Franz perform when he versus the worst teams at defending the pick and roll. We can see here 4 out of 4, but the sample size not very big. So I want to get a little bit conservative with this filter. Let's just remove the top 5 teams in terms of limiting points to the pick and roll. I think that's the top 5 there. And when we do that, we get a larger sample size. So we know that these teams that he's played on this graph, where he's played 32 to 41 minutes, these teams are not the best teams at defending the pick and roll. The next thing to look at is the shot zones. So when it comes to the shot zones, you can look at the bottom 10 teams here to see how he performs against them by filtering here. And against the bottom, look, the graph says it all. But against the bottom 10 teams at defending the restricted area, removing the 5 best teams at limiting points in the pick and roll, when Franz plays 32 to 41 minutes, he's over this line in every single game. 9 out of 9 games, averaging 31.1 points. Now, against a line at 26.5, it's not looking too bad so far. But on top of that, we can do more things. We also have this, similar types of players versus the Hawks. And we can see here 8 out of 15 similar types of players in terms of their scoring profiles and what they do to Franz Wagner have gone over their points prop. That's a positive indication for us. In this, we can also see that Franz has played the Atlanta Hawks a week ago, and in that game, he played 38 minutes, well within the range that we expect. He scored 37 points, 15 out of 29, so some really high volume. Now, on top of that, this is probably a bit more advanced, but it just showcases how great this tool is. You could use these filters, and as you change through these filters, you can see this blue line is moving up and down all over the place. And what this blue line, it tells you filter that you've got selected, how they performed in that particular game, whether you're looking at field goal percentage, his volume of attempts, his usage rate, for example. Now, usage rate is a real key one here, especially when it comes to scoring points. So here we can see a summary of that blue line. So what this is telling us here is in these games against these teams, when he plays 32 to 41 minutes, he has an average usage rate of 34.5%. His season average usage rate is 31%. So in games where he has a good matchup, Franz gets the ball a little bit more. That's what that tells us. Now, you might be thinking a lot of these games are without Paolo Banchero in it, and it's true. Let me show you some filters here. So you can remove and add Paolo Banchero from the equation. Without Paolo Banchero, 7 out of 7 games he's gone over. And we can see here his average usage rate without Paolo in these matchups is 33%. But if we include Banchero, we can see 2 games. He's gone over this line in both games. But what's interesting is that his usage rate, 38%. So with Banchero in the lineup in these matchups, Franz is actually seeing the ball even more. So his usage rate only goes up. So hopefully the season shot chart, the play type analysis, that's making sense to you. Because if it does, a quick thing that I do now is I just hover over the next team that they're playing. And just by using this, I can see whether they have a good matchup or not. We can open this up and we can see DPT, DPT2, shot zone 2, D rank versus position, which is a good thing, meaning the Atlanta Hawks allow the second most points to France's position, points in the paint, pace, all these things. If you understand the abbreviations within PropsMadness, this is the only thing you need to really use. It is a little bit more advanced, and I encourage you to play around with it. But this makes finding a good bet so much easier and so much quicker. So some other awesome advanced analytic filters that you have at your disposal. You can look at opposition transition points allowed, spot up points allowed. You can take a look at just specifically D rank versus position, meaning points allowed to Franz's position. So you can see that even when the Spurs, who don't allow many points to Franz's position, he's punished them. But a lot of these softer matchups, if that's your thing. But that gives you a good rundown of what you could be doing when it comes to points props. If you wanted to look at assist props, for example, you could do that as well. And with assist props, what they've done here is organize these filters in the ones that are most important to the prop that you're looking at. So if you move to assist, the first filter you're going to have outside of the minutes is the potential assist volume. So you can see this blue line is already showing what his potential assist numbers look like. You can look at opponent assists allowed, which teams are allowing assists, and assists allowed to his position. You can look at defensive rating, yada, yada, yada. So you can get real technical with it. And we can see just with Franz, I'm not going to take this as a bet, but in terms of potential assists, we can see recently, since January, his potential assist volumes died down. And I can only assume that's because there's Franz Banchero's in the lineup. So without Banchero, he was getting 12.3 potential assists per game, covering this line like a madman. With Banchero in the lineup, we can see he's only averaging 3 assists and he's only seeing 6.9 potential assists. There's so many options here. You can do the same thing with rebounds. You can look at rebound chances, which are very much the same as potential assists. You can play around with it to see when he gets X amount of chances, how well does he rebound. Again, you might want to do the with and without Banchero thing. So without Banchero in the lineup, he sees 9.9 rebound chances per game. But with Banchero in the lineup, he's getting 8.9, so a slight reduction in his rebounds and assists. Now, if it is a bet that you do want to take, you can play with this line shopper tool here. It updates really quickly, so you're getting the most up-to-date lines. We can see here ESPN Bet has this at 24.5 at minus 150. All the other books have it at 26.5 right now. Closer to the game time, more books lines become available, and this list gets quite extensive. So if you're using this line shopper, you can always get the best odds that are available to you at that point in time. So there's a basic tutorial on how to use PropsMadness. If you do have any other questions, I encourage you to join the PropsMadness Discord, or you can watch my YouTube videos, leave me comments in my YouTube videos, and I'll be sure to make more tutorials just like this. I appreciate y'all for watching. Let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.